Hey guys, welcome to the review show. My name's Austin, and Antman and the Wasp Quantumania stars Paul Rudd, and this is the third Ant-Man film in the Marvel Universe. Ant-Man and the Wasp find themselves exploring the quantum realm, interacting with strange new creatures, and embarking on an adventure that pushes them beyond the limits of what they thought was possible. Of all the Marvel films that they announced, this was the one I was really excited for. This was the one that was really setting up a lot of things and setting up the new baddie in the whole entire Marvel universe and the next big phases. And this is also this is the first movie in the new phase of Phase 5, whatever phase we are in at this point. And I also like Paul Rudd. I really enjoyed the first Ant-Man. I think it's like one of my favorite Marvel movies. Ant-Man the Wasp was okay. I found it a little bit less like dry of the first one. I thought the jokes were a little bit more weak in that one, and the story itself is fine. It worked as a placeholder. That was all what it really was, is a placeholder between Infinity War and Endgame. So that it did its job really, and there were a couple of good moments. And so this one really had to like really bring it, especially after a couple of the bad Marvel films. I mean, like Shang-Chi was pretty good. Black Panther was awesome. Spider-Man No Way Home, of course, was great. But Marvel recently has not been the greatest, especially with their shows. And speaking of their shows, if you didn't watch Loki, you're not gonna really understand this movie that much, or at least what the phase is basically set up. I mean, like, they do sort of a pretty good job. But Loki seems like the show that set this movie up, and so kind of recommend go and watch that one first. Go and watch the show first. It's not that long. It's like maybe 6 episodes, and watch Quantumania. That's kind of like my recommendation on that. And it's like, and one of the things that they said is like, oh, you won't need to watch the shows to understand the movies. Clearly, you're kind of need the watch the Loki to understand this. And so, especially when there is 2 post-credit scenes. Those 2 post-credit scenes kind of set up big things, and it's like, well, one of those post-credit scenes are gonna be kind of confused if you don't know what, if you haven't watched any of the shows. And it's just like, so, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. I actually really did. I had a lot of fun with it. The movie was very funny, and Paul Rudd's character, Ant-Man, why can't I not remember his name? Scott Lane, is basically, after Endgame, he's basically trying to find his place again in the world. He wrote books, he's like basically famous now, and he calls himself the Avenger, and everyone kind of pokes fun of him about it. It's quite funny. And so, but then when we get to the actual Quantumania stuff, and it's like, okay, this is cool. This is an interesting world. What are we gonna learn about it? Not that much, really. I mean, what we really know about the quantum realm now is pretty much the same, besides that there's life down there, which we very sort of knew and hinted at where the quantum realm would be technically. And it's like, and really nothing with the quantum realm itself was really addressed that much, besides Kang, which Kang was the new baddie in the film, and as also basically the new baddie of this whole entire next phase, and basically the next Thanos. And so it was very interesting to see a side character, basically of like if you were watching an Avengers movie, technically Ant-Man would be a side kick type of character, and it's like cool, like seeing like a small like a minor character to go up against a big baddie by himself. And it really shows that Ant-Man has more to him, and it's just like it gives a little bit, it gives more pride to Ant-Man, and I really like that he does something on his own, and he doesn't always need backup or whatnot, and he doesn't need like the Avengers to defend himself against like a big baddie. He basically sort of like pushed back. He basically like gave more people more time, basically in that form. Another thing is that the narrative point in the trailer and in the movie are completely different. In the trailer, it seems like Scott Lane it was doing certain thing by helping the villain. And this is not really spoiled, it's in the trailer. He's like sort of trying to help the villain because he doesn't really have a choice, but he also wants time back. And so he's like, it's like Kang's like, I will give you more time if you do this one thing for me. But in the movie, his daughter is just mostly in distress, and it's like, okay, well, I get, well, she does, say, like, hold up on her own in certain parts of the movie, but it's like, we already did this, like, I get it, but it's like, I don't need, like, I think it would have been more interesting to see the battle between Scott of like moving on, because the movie actually sets that up. The movie kind of sets up like he sort of is in this doubting situation. He's in this like weird phase where he wished that he had more time, and that theme and that like plot point kind of just fades away really, and it really kind of goes nowhere, and it would set up a sort of thing for him to have to do later on in the movie that really doesn't have any impact anymore. It's so the whole narrative change is kind of like different from how it was in the trailers, but it doesn't. It sort of holds up, but it also feels like it just feels a little bit different. It feels a little wonky in that type of scenario. Jonathan Majors was pretty good as like Kang and Loki, and so seeing him coming back to play another variant of Kang, again, I guess sort of minor spoilers for Loki if you haven't seen it. It's kind of hard because this is definitely a sequel to Loki, so it's kind of really hard to talk about certain things. He works pretty well as a villain, and I can see him being a big bad villain. There's just that there's some acting choices that he does with his face. Like there's a lot of face expression from him in this movie, and just him going like there was a lot of that in this film from him, and I just like it. Sometimes it came very cringeworthy, and it's just like I don't know what how he was directed, or if he was like basically allowed to do whatever he wanted. It just he was messing around with his face too much, and just like he should have kept it more like serious and like and like driven type of stuff instead of like like no joke, those are like legit faces that he makes throughout this film, like he never acted before, and we know that he can be a good actor from his other performances, and so it's just that it's a weird thing to see, and kind of find a little funny. And and like the one that play I forget the actress name that plays Cassie, Kathryn Newton. I'm pretty sure I'm saying her name wrong. She does fine in the film. I found her acting a little bit more weak. And she was like recast. She's not the same actress from Endgame that had a small little cameo. But she does fine. I just found there's certain parts where there was supposed to be a lot of motion that I wasn't really feeling that convinced. I wasn't really being convinced that she was like, that she is like, she gives a speech. I wasn't really convinced that a lot of this emotion that she was trying to give off. I was like, I mean, that's a cool speech, but that was a very, generic face type, and Marvel's usually good at their casting. So I don't know if it's her or the directing, but I can't really blame her when, we have Jonathan Majors as well doing like these weird faces. So I feel like it's sort of the directing side of it. And it's just that they're not really portraying like that much emotion or giving me that much investment into it. Because there's also another thing where she sees her dad basically in distress, and she shouts, and this is one of the shots in the trailer where she shouts out his name, and it comes off very stale. It feels very off, and it's like that's the take that you took. You didn't want to do any other take. You thought that was the take that was good. Okay. Overall, I did have fun with Quantumania. I thought it was better than most of the Marvel films that we got recently, and I love Paul Rudd. I like seeing him as this character. He always brings this fun presence to the screen, and I thought it was really good. The action was a lot of fun. There was a lot of great jokes, and a couple other cringy ones, but sort of like the story parts of itself, and not really learning that much about the quantum realm, and but what they do set up is very interesting. I'm really excited, and I hope that it pays off, because it can fall on its face real hard if it's not done right. And especially there's going to be a lot of CGI, and mostly of other copied, like try not to spoil it, but there's going to be a lot of CGI when it comes to a certain person, if that tries to make sense. I'm trying not to spoil it, because that's the one thing that's hard about Marvel films, is that like you want to talk about certain things, but you just can't really say it without trying to work your way around it. And it sounds a little weird the way I'm trying to say it, but that's the best way I can say it without just like blurting out what's gonna happen and what they're setting up, because I do want you guys to go out and enjoy this yourselves, because it's definitely good. I don't know what Rotten Tomatoes is doing, the critics on there, or IMDb. This is definitely not like bottom of the barrel Marvel type of film. This is nowhere near Eternals, because apparently this is the second lowest rating for a Marvel film. That is, Eternals was pretty bad, and I'm pretty sure I went soft on that film when that film was a little bit worse than I gave it. And also I feel like Doctor Strange and Thor should have been lower on the Rotten list and all of that. I'm gonna give Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania a B-. Really enjoyed it. I think I gave Ant-Man and the Wasp the same grade as that. If I reviewed it, did I review it? I don't remember if I even did. It's been so long. But yeah, go check it out. If you guys are enjoying like the Marvel films still, I'm pretty sure you're gonna still enjoy this one. It still has that Marvel feel to it. I just wish they had the balls to do certain things differently and kept like somewhat a interesting theme that they were showing off in the trailer, even though that it was like, I don't know how I feel about that, but if you pull it off, it could work. But it seems like they just kind of like, threw that out and just did something very generic when it came to moving the story along. And like I wish that they, went for a more darker approach later on in the film. And so instead of like, how everything goes, basically. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys for watching, and like always, I'll see you guys in the next review. Bye, guys.